My phone went off.
No, you didn't. It's okay, Graham. The video's on now. That's so funny. Good morning. Hi, everybody. I am flying solo today, which I don't think I've done on Facebook like this before, so it's very interesting. As some or most or whatever of you know, Richard decided quite rightly that he needed a break, and so he's taking the summer off. No, you didn't. It's okay, Graham. The video's on now. That's so funny. Good morning. Hi, everybody. And I am flying solo today. And I don't think I've done on Facebook like this before, so it's very interesting. She suggested some or most or whatever of you know. So I'm going to decided this service that he needed a break for the month of July, which is so has to do only this week and next week. No, you didn't. It's okay, Graham. The video's on now. That's so funny. So maybe I'll do good morning. I'm not sure, everybody. I hope that you can. I am very good today. I'm going to kind of go with the flow and see how things proceed and how they progress. If you're watching this morning or at a later time, thank you for coming and hanging out, and I hope this little service that I've put together today is helpful for you and gives you a space to breathe and a space to come into contact with love and God and all those things, and yeah, that it's helpful to you. I have a bit of a disclaimer to put at the beginning today. I don't intend to want to start all of these with a whole lot of chit-chat, but I do want to sort of explain myself a little bit. I was getting ready for the service this morning and setting everything up and putting everything out, and one of the rituals is I unlock my front door so that when Richard pulls up, he can just, come in, even if I'm practicing already or warming up or whatever. So I went to unlock the door, and then I realized I didn't have to because Richard was not going to be coming this morning. As I say, I think his break is very well deserved, so absolutely I'm happy for that, but it does feel very strange. And I was, putting the service together, and we did talk about it a little bit, which was nice of him to do that still with me. And I realized how I would not be able to do this just as well, let's take what we normally would do together and do it by myself. We talk about the service every week. We've developed, the flow that we have has been developed over multiple months, even years, and it works, and we are always looking to tweak it and change it and make it, better all the time and more appropriate to work better for us, but then hopefully also for all of you. And as I was going through it, I just realized that this is a flow that works with two people. This is a flow that works when Richard's being Richard and Marie is being Marie, and we're contributing individually and together. It comes together, but parts of it are authentic to Richard and parts of it are more authentic to me. And so for me to just lead his parts didn't feel right. So I'm coming clean. I'm sure all of you have your faith all figured out, and you guys are, without questions and doubts and all of that. I'm being ironic. For myself in the last few years, as some of you know, I've gone through a lot of change and a lot of transitions, and part of that has meant that I've had to, well, I haven't had to, but I have looked at my faith and where it comes from and why I believe some of the things I do, and I'm in a period of questioning. And so it means that there are some things I am comfortable saying and some things I'm less comfortable saying, not because I necessarily don't believe them, but because right now I don't feel what I would need to feel to be able to lead some of those things. So I've put together a little flow, and I hope it works for you. It's nothing fancy. We're going to do some songs. I have a poem. I did pick a Bible reading. We're going to do some meditation prayer, and that's going to be it. And I hope it works for you. I hope it's helpful. As I say, I hope it creates a space. I hope it creates a space where you can come into contact with the holy and the divine, whatever that means to you. Yeah, I'll leave that. I hope that's okay. I'll even try next week to put the words up. I didn't manage it this week, but I realized as I was practicing the songs this morning that I can't. I mean, some of the songs, if you're familiar with the songs and you've been around a long time, you'll know the words. But if you aren't, then you just won't know them, and so I won't be able to imagine that you're singing them with me, and that didn't feel right. So I will try to put the words up next week so that you have access to that. For this week, I hope you can participate where you can and listen where that's more appropriate. Last week we started with Come to the Waters, and I really liked that. So we're going to start with Come to the Waters again this week. It feels like an invitation, an invitation to all of us to be nourished, and I think that's definitely one of the big reasons why we're here. So we're going to sing Come to the Waters, and then we're going to sing Resting Place and Sanctuary. Alright. Everybody knows that Mary Oliver is one of my, well, everybody, if you've known me for a while, you know that Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets. I need to ask Annie to do something. Annie? Yeah? Please would you go press the middle button on the dishwasher and pull out the drawer, because it keeps beeping, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it and it's driving me nuts.
Which one?
The middle one, and then open the drawer. Or if it protests, maybe don't open the drawer.
Yeah.
Okay, press it again. And now, wait. Now open the drawer. Great, just leave it open. Thank you, I apologize. So, Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is, she passed away a couple of years ago now, which is very, very sad. But she was an amazing poet. And I said last week that when I went on my trip to the Gaspé with the kids, which I did just the first week of July, I thought a lot about Mary Oliver's poems because most of them, if not all of them, have some imagery that comes from the natural world, from flowers and trees and water and animals, and that was her haven, that was her heaven, that was her refuge when she was young. She was abused by her father sexually, and it was very awful, of course, and taking refuge in the forest was important for her in that time and is part of what helped her survive, and so remained with her as a refuge and a source of nourishment and life all through her own life. And so I was thinking a lot about Mary Oliver and a lot of her poems, and I wrote a bit of a post on Facebook about our trip, and I kind of referenced one of her poems. There's a poem called Sometimes, and it's quite long. Maybe I'll read it sometime. It's of course very good. There's a part of it though that often gets quoted, and the part that often gets quoted is this. It says, "Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it." Which is very much, if you've been around a long time, you know that I love the structure. I learned once from a colleague, Huntley Addy. He's an English teacher at John Rennie, and he came and did some of our leadership program with the summer camp that we were running at St. Mary's for a long time. And his big thing was what, so what, and now what, as a structure for thinking and as a structure for presenting also. And I feel like this is Mary Oliver's what, so what, and now what. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. And it seems so simple, and there's a lot more to life maybe, but gosh, there's a lot of life encompassed in all of that. And that's how I tried to be when we were out in the Gaspé. And you know, I said earlier that there's some things that I've been struggling with in terms of faith and how to live it and how to think of it and what to do. Increasingly, I feel like prayer is a lot just that. Not just, I take all those words out. But prayer is a lot that, is about paying attention and being amazed by it. It says astonished in her thing. I mean, there's also a place for being, having your heart broken open. She talks about that too. But paying attention and responding, I suppose, and then telling about it. That's a lot of what life is about. There's another poem that she wrote called Mysteries, Yes, and it felt right for today. So this isn't just a quote from the poem, this is the whole poem, although it's not very long. Following this poem, we'll do a little bit of quiet time, and then we'll sing another song. That's the plan. So this is the poem. As I said, it's called Mysteries, Yes. Truly we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of the lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. So whether you bow your head or find some other way of being comfortable, I invite you to sit and become aware of your body in its surroundings and to feel that for a moment. Feel whatever chair is beneath you. Maybe you have cushions nearby that feel soft and are a good, gentle place to land. Your arms, maybe. Feel wherever your feet are placed. Maybe they're placed flat on the ground, or maybe they're curled up under you. Maybe your legs are crossed, or maybe they aren't. But feel where your feet are and where they come into contact with the ground or whatever they're in contact with. Feel how that's another place of support for your body right now in this moment. And when you feel like you are settled in your space and are aware of your body, maybe start thinking about your breath and where they come into contact with the life that it represents to do anything with you. Just notice it. You don't have to do anything with it. Just notice how it goes into you and flows out of you. If we pay attention to our breath, it can indeed be astonishing. That's my dishwasher. If we pay attention to our breath, we can be astonished by it. Astonished that that is what keeps us alive every moment. Gratitude is what comes to my mind as I think about my breath this morning. I think how grateful I am that that breath is there. I'm grateful for the trees that clean the air, the plants that clean the air. Grateful for everything that breathes because of the air, for the birds that I hear outside, for Jazz, my cat, when she walks around you can hear the little jingle bell. You can take a moment to think about and focus on the things that breathe, for which you are grateful. invite you perhaps to make a picture in your mind of being next to a river, being outside and in a beautiful setting next to that flowing water. And as you think of the things and the people and the animals and all the living things that breathe, as they come into your mind, maybe let them flow past you like the waters of the river. Hold it in your consciousness for a while as it flows by, and then let it go and see what the next one is that comes along. Now here's our time of confession. I thought about that point in the service when we normally would do confession, and I could imagine it being in this context right here where we are next to this river. That we take a moment to search inside ourselves and see where there are things. Pay attention, really, to things that may be niggling or clawing, big ones or small ones inside of us. Things we've done, things we've left undone. And see if you can take those and, you do it any way you like, but I could imagine putting it on a leaf and letting that flow down the river as well. Makes me think of the sort of historical symbol of using incense and burning incense and imagining your prayers going up with the smoke of it. Some image. Just another image that might work for you. It's imagining those things floating by. And go down the river and be welcomed and embraced by the vastness of the ocean. Not gone, but held. And finally, for this time, I suggest picking one concern, one person maybe, or situation. Whether it's someone or something close to you that you are concerned about, and maybe wondering how to express your compassion for, wondering where love's place is in that situation. Could be something less immediate. Friend who's husband is from Cuba, and there's so much unrest there, and she's been opening the eyes, not just of me, but of a lot of the people in her circle about the injustices and the suffering that have been and continue to go on there in Cuba, and how the people are trying to make a change. And so perhaps that, or some other similar situation, is what presents itself to you to be held in your consciousness for a while, to pay attention to. You pick. You pick, and you just hold it in your consciousness and pay attention to it. Just look at it from all of its angles, and depending on what it is, you can imagine the sights and sounds, smells, feel, textures that go along with it. And when you feel ready, you might want to place that concern as well in that flowing river. Maybe in a basket, like baby Moses, trusting that it's going where it needs to go. Just on a leaf, or whatever image fits. It too can flow and be welcomed and held in the vastness of the ocean. Which might not work for you, but for me is a better image just at the moment than a man with a long white beard sitting on a cloud to represent love and holiness. I can imagine the ocean embracing much more easily. And they're all images of God. We're only ever going to have images. I'm I read through all of the readings that were in the lectionary for today and decided that I would pick one. And I went with an Old Testament reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, 6 verses. I'm going to read it. I'm not going to do a lectio divina with it, and I'm certainly not going to do a reflection, maybe one day, but not today. There are two things in this reading that jumped out at me, though, which I'll underline afterwards. Maybe as you're listening, you can see what jumps out at you. So this is Jeremiah chapter 23. It starts with a big word. Doom. Doom to the shepherd leaders who butcher and scatter my sheep. God's decree. So here is what I, God, Israel's God, say to the shepherd leaders who misled my people. You've scattered my sheep. You've driven them off. You haven't kept your eye on them. Well, let me tell you, I'm keeping my eye on you, keeping track of your criminal behavior. I'll take over and gather what's left of my sheep, gather them in from all the lands where I've driven them. I'll bring them back where they belong, and they'll recover and flourish. I'll set shepherd leaders over them who will take good care of them. They won't live in fear or panic anymore. All the lost sheep rounded up. Time's coming, God's decree, when I'll establish a truly righteous David branch, a ruler who knows how to rule justly. He'll make sure of justice and keep people united. In his time, Judah will be secure again, and Israel will live in safety. This is the name they'll give him, God who puts everything right. That's the word of the Lord. Maybe someone's out there saying thanks be to God. Alright, so there were two lines actually that jumped out at me on this. I believe I did look up the working preacher because that seems to be where you go when you want to comment on a reading. So I thought I'd at least read and see what it had to say. This is talking about a time when the Babylonians were attacking and I guess winning against Judah, Israel. But at the same time, also the leaders of Israel were really, were letting them down and not taking care of things as they should, or with justice and righteousness. So the two things that jumped out at me were this. One of them was the very last line. This is the name they'll give him, God who puts everything right. And it made me think of, just the way it was worded, it made me think of Ça va bien aller, which of course we all know has been the tagline around Quebec for the time of the pandemic and has bugged the hoo-ha out of me. And I know not just me, I know I'm not the only one who has found that a difficult tagline to put on the whole thing. But I'm amongst those who have not loved it. I think it's trite. I think it's without substance. I think he doesn't know, François Legault, when he said it, and anyone else who does, they don't know that everything is going to be okay. And in fact, for all the people who have died, it isn't really all that okay. For the people who are left behind and bereaved, it's not really okay. For all the, kids and others, but I'm thinking of so many young people that I know who have struggled very much from being isolated and being the ones who have been at distance for school and haven't been in their social context, and how hard that has been. It's not going to really be okay ever that these years, really, of their lives have been so compromised, and there may be redemption that comes out of it, there may be lessons that get learned, there may be growth that comes from it, but that doesn't make it okay. You know, we can live through hard things, we can live through tragedies, we can live through abuses, we can live through all kinds of awful things, and we can come out the other side and we can be stronger, and we can have learned that it doesn't make the bad thing okay. The other thing I hate about Ça va bien aller is that it's very passive. It's very, you're being asked to sit on your couch, so sit on your couch, which I also disagree with. That's a meme that went around Facebook. How hard is it to sit on your couch? It's pretty hard, actually, sometimes for some people to just sit on their couch and be locked up at home for all kinds of reasons. But it's very passive. It's going to be okay. Just wait. And this year, I was going to show it to you. I don't think it's near enough for me to go get it. That's the bummer about being only one person. You can't have the other person kind of keep the visual going. I was going to show it to you. Maybe I'll bring it next week. But for my students this year, we do les expressions idiomatiques every year, as you know, lots of us do. And our favorite expression this year that came out of our study was lâche pas la patate, which means, you know, don't give up. And it became our favorite tagline in our classroom. Lâche pas la patate, for whatever reason, you know, for all kinds of things. And so I made them a little keychain for the end of the year as one of my little gifties to them. And on one side, I did a little decoupage thing, and I put I put a picture of a potato, like a cool potato with sunglasses, you know. And on the other side, I printed the quote, ne lâche jamais la patate. And it was just fun, you know. And I think, although a potato is not as pretty as a rainbow, as a visual symbol of hope, something in my throat, I think that lâche pas la patate is a much better and proactive and implicates people in managing their situation. And it's too bad we can't have lâche pas la patate plastered all over our car dealerships and our grocery store windows, rather than ça va bien aller. I feel like it's I don't know, I feel like it's unfortunate that has been the view. And it made me, the other line that jumped out at me out of this reading was the one that said, I'll bring them back, says God, the lost, where they belong, and they'll recover and flourish. I'll set shepherd leaders over them who will take good care of them. They won't live in fear or panic anymore. And that part jumped out at me as well for multiple different reasons. I'm gonna try not to get lost in my reasons, but it's interesting because it maybe on first read it kind of contrasts a little bit with what I just said, that the shepherd leaders over them who will take good care of them, you know, it'll be okay. But I don't think that necessarily has to be how it's read. Taking good care of people doesn't necessarily mean patting them on the head and telling them, don't worry, we're going to do everything for you. Taking good care of someone is not, you know, is not that. And I do think it's interesting. It made me think about our current society and how we are so focused a lot on independence and, you know, having your own opinion and your own view, and all of that is really, really important. But I think it's important also not to lose sight of having good shepherd leaders, by which I don't necessarily mean, you know, our politicians, but having good guides and good mentors. And so I was just pondering that. I was just pondering that that dialectic of independence versus being guided and mentored and helped along, and you know where my role is in both of those places, where our role as a community, where our role as a church, where our role as Christians, where it falls in both those sides of the coin, or however you want to look at it. But what really struck me about it was that the last part of it, that God will bring them back where they belong, they'll recover and flourish, set shepherd leaders over them who will take good care of them, and they won't live in fear or panic anymore. And I don't think either that means that there aren't going to be the bad things, but being in a healthy context means the fear and panic maybe don't need to be as present, especially the panic. I mean, this is the Message version. I'm not sure, I didn't look up what the original version is, and I certainly can't look up at what the original version is. So who knows exactly which words were exactly used by the writer of this bit. But fear is something I think that is very automatic, right? Like it's very, and like I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that one a little bit more, exactly how fear works. But panic seems to me more of a response to fear, like almost like if you feel sad, you just feel sad. Like if something happens or whatever, it's a feeling, and you're going to feel sad. So then, what are you going to do with your sad feeling? Then you have choices about how you're going to react. And I was wondering if it's a bit the same with fear. If you feel afraid of something, is that a feeling, the way sadness is a feeling, but panic is a reaction to it. So what are you going to do with your fear? Hopefully you're going to have shepherd leaders around you who can take good care of you. Hopefully you're going to be in an environment where you can belong and recover and flourish from that fear, from those feelings, and not panic anymore. So those are the thoughts that I would share today, based on that reading, and leave you pondering where your place is as a shepherd leader, where your place is as a lost sheep that needs to find its place where it can recover and flourish and have good shepherd leaders. Where are you supposed to be a shepherd leader? And lâche pas la patate, okay? Maybe it'll bien aller, maybe it won't. But don't give up. I think that's the hope, right? There's hope there. All right. I was going to do some more prayer here, but I don't think we need to. I think we've done our prayer before. I think it was all encompassed there. So I'll use the music that I have chosen as our prayer, and I'm going to do the blessing song, which we keep doing, and I'm going to keep doing it until I feel like it doesn't need to be done anymore. So it's a repeat. It's been one of our standards nearly every week for the last while, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we're going to sing the blessing, and I hope that it serves you as a prayer. And then I do have a blessing to share as our peace, as our sharing of the peace moment. And then that's going to be pretty much it. So, the blessing. May the blessing of light be upon you. Light on the outside, light on the inside. With love's lights, sunlight shining on you. May your heart glow with warmth like a turf fire that welcomes friends and strangers alike. May the light of love shine from your eyes like a candle in the window, welcoming the weary traveler. Peace of love be always with you. Traditionally, this is the moment when we have notices. So there aren't that many notices, really. Richard's away for the summer, or on break for the summer. And I will be here next week at 9 o'clock. I am not sure whether anyone came forward to volunteer to check the email or not. So if you send an email to the church account and don't get a reply, that might be a summer thing. Or maybe somebody would like to take that on, to just check our email and stuff. In theory, we still have to have our stuff also out of St. John the Baptist by September. I am not sure how that's going. If anyone has any ideas, I suppose it'd be worth putting them forward. I have my lovely 9-foot concert grand Kanabi piano that is now again going to be homeless, and I'm not too sure what to do about that. So if y'all have any ideas, please message me directly. I gotta figure that one out. I felt weird today. It felt weird here today to be here by myself, doing this by myself, and I hope it was a good time for you, helpful time for you. I can hear Nancy, I mean, I can't even see if there's any comments or anything. Hopefully this has been working the whole time. But I can imagine Nancy saying, "We're right there with you, Marie, don't worry." So I can feel that, but I'd also beg your patience a little bit, because doing it by yourself is not the same as doing it with somebody else, and I could see all the things that still would need to be developed and fixed and changed and adjusted and all of that. So if you found anything helpful in what we did this morning, bear with me, and it'll be a process just as it always is, as it was, you know, with Richard and with our online services that we developed together. Yeah, feedback always welcome though. So if you want to let me know what you thought or what you think might work better or make suggestions, then I'd be very happy to receive that. We're not going to sing to close. I'm just going to play over a hymn. I don't know why I was thinking about My Faith Looks Up to Thee, so I'm going to play that. I wish you all a wonderful week. And if it isn't or can't be a wonderful week, I wish you a week that has moments of peace and moments where you feel held and where the ones you, for whom you are a shepherd leader,